Thank you, Rahul. And first of all, I'd like to thank BW Hotelier and Bhuvnesh to having me on this show and being with all of you. Uh, it's been a extremely tough time for all of us. I moved in from Kolkata after opening that hotel, and you know what happens in a first 1 year of hotel operation, and especially when it starts doing extremely well. When it starts at the first year of the operation, if hotel achieves around 60% occupancy of that size, so it is, and from there I landed up here, and the lockdown started. So for me, introduction to this market, and along with that, this pandemic. So I see it as a hotel industry as such. It's the first to go out and the last to come in these kind of any world event which has a negative impact. So that's the travel industry and the hotel industry goes out that way. Now, in terms of profitability, the first quarter, which was as good as entire business came to a grinding halt, and everybody dropped numbers very heavily, and it did impact in terms of rooms. It didn't impact in terms of food, and the cost which we normally have is 80% or 70%, 80% is on the fixed cost nature. So the first quarter, if we see the results of all the companies, and we saw there is a huge. I've never seen a negative bottom line ever in my career so far, and this is the first time we are seeing this. So, so what has happened is it is not going to come back so soon. We need to rationalize our cost completely. So the steps which we have taken to rationalize the cost, we've gone through each and every line on the P&L statement, and the major impact comes from HLP and SWP. ITC as a company, we have not laid off any people. We have not had any salary cuts. We have not done that. But at the same time, we are very lucky that we have not stopped our expansion plan. So since our expansion plan is on, and our new hotels are going to debut very soon, and there are some tie-ups which are happening, so we can spread thin and move our people across to other areas. So that's where SWB cost can be taken care of. The second is, in terms of SWB cost, is the multifunctionality. The people. This is the new normal. Earlier we could do a person does only one kind of a job, and that's about it. But now the multifunctionality is the name of the game. So do you need to hire the contractuals? Do you need to hire contractual agencies to do certain jobs which we can do it ourselves? So we have done a lot of this engineering, and last 4 months have been very exciting in terms of that way. That is kept extremely busy, and kept working on these, and it's a continuous, it's an evolving process. So what we are working on these costs, and at the same time keeping our workforce totally engaged. How do we engage them? There are a couple of ways doing that. One is keeping them the online training courses, online training classes, so that the skill levels go up. So that's very useful. Communication level training goes up. That's very useful. And the third is that they are the people. If you have 500, 600 people employed in a particular hotel, can I make them all as a sales resources, so that all of them get in touch with, most of them get in touch with the consumers, so that our business goes up. Now, looking at what are the channels available for us to for driving the revenue business. There is room revenue. We all know it's all gone down, and the kind of customer which has come into the hotels now, though we did around 35-40% occupancy in last couple of months, but where has that business come from? That's a very different line of business, which is either a repatriation or healthcare workers or essential services, these kind of businesses. The transient is completely gone. FIT is not there at all. So where does this business come from? Then, in terms of food and beverage, restaurants have not been allowed to open, at least in the Bombay market. But wherever it's been allowed to open, we can see certain numbers getting driven, especially in Delhi market. It just opened a week, 10 days back, and the result what we're seeing is very good in the restaurant. So there is a pent-up demand. So business needs to go up from there. Then the third is, have we thought of new ways of looking at businesses, different verticals? So whether it's a food delivery vertical, everybody spoke about that, whether it's a laundry service, whether it is home cleaning services, whether it is uh, the consultancy services and all that. But there are lots being done at this point of time in every group, and working on that so that there's some kind of a revenue stream comes in, because certain costs are of fixed nature and nothing you can do about it, though you can do a variability on your fixed costs, move them towards the variable costs. So that is being done in all areas, and though I would still see that this is still not a revival phase, it's still on a survival phase in most of the cities, and there is still some more time till the time the number of cases are going up. Still time for this to get settled down, but we got to learn to live, and the economy has to move on. The economy has to win from this war. Until unless that happens, we will not be able to put the numbers on the bottom line. And bottom line is something which will make sure that we all survive. But I'm sure that from the learning of last 5 months in terms of the major cost heads, each one of us have worked on that, and I'm sure the costs have shrunk in what the normal would have been there, and looking at the revenue numbers to be driven up, that's what will take care of it.
Thank you, Atul. Good caution, actually, also I picked up from what you said, that let us not think this is revival. We are still in survival phase. And how you are using your growth to actually protect the jobs of your employees. And what was very interesting as a takeaway for me was how, as the leader in the field, you are telling your workforce that, hey, everybody is doing sales, irrespective of whatever title they may wear. So I think that's a very important cue for everybody in the business. And I was also very happy when you spoke of pent up F&B demand, because that shows green shoots of recovery that will actually be very sustainable. Thank you. Moving on, Manish, you were supposed to be launching the hotel, and your market launch strategy has been disrupted. So, when do you start the hotel now? And given the fact that you were supposed to be focusing on the airport business and airlines, what segments are you going to now be focusing on? And along with this, what's your plan to rein in your costs?
So, Mr. Pandit, I mean, we worked close for the past 5 months. Closure was a conscious decision because we wanted to ensure that all our team members, all our business partners, all the guests basically are with us, are in a safe zone, because what happened back in March, nobody was actually aware of what's going to be the next steps in terms of government norms, in terms of BMC, in terms of circulars coming out that hotels will become hospitals, and hotels overnight becoming quarantine zones. So hence, the management had a conscious call over here that our hotel will remain closed till such time that we know that it's basically safe to open. Now, on those months, it's now been basically 5 months. We've ensured that all our parameters in terms of safety for guests and for our team members are as per industry norms. So we're very, very happy to announce that hopefully in the next few weeks or by month end, we should go live. And once we go live, we basically partnered with a very, very good app which is called PrefMe. So all your guest aspects have become no touch or low touch. So we ensure that as the guest walks in, he or she has a safety barrier. However, not compromising on the human feel. Similarly, on our team members, we've launched a program called Safe Me, Safe We, where we educate them from home to work and back to home again. How you handle yourself, how you look after yourself, because for any company, you may have a good hotel, you have the best policies, you may have the best distinct software too, but your team is your greatest asset. So our understanding has been that we have to look after our biggest asset, which is our team members. Nevertheless, overheads are for all hotels and like for us as well. So we've ensured that in the past 5 months, we've gone back on the drawing board, worked on the costs, brought them down. However, I'm proud to say that we've not laid off anybody. For payroll costs, we've been held by our corporate office, and they've helped us out in giving the payroll month on month. And we are very, very happy with that, because other companies, not just hotels, IT companies, manufacturing firms, across the board have had this layoffs. So keeping your workforce more motivated in this entire time period has been our prime focus. Now it's not just on the financial front, but it's also on the emotional front, because we've seen that in the past 5 months, a lot has happened in the human aspect, where people have reacted differently in terms of the entire lockdown, from Bollywood to movies to other aspects too. You've seen what's gone wrong with the world. So on our side, we've ensured that the department heads, the employees, the HR department, we've had a very, very counterproductive 5 months, where we've interacted with them virtually on site, and we've ensured that the team is basically motivated in terms they need help, in terms of financial help, in case they need any emotional help, in case of anything in the family, we've been there for them. We also have a team which is living on property for the past 5 months, who are looking after the entire hotel in a brilliant way, and we're very, very indebted to those guys. On the revenue streams, we've asked our sales team to basically think outside the box, because in these scenarios, adaptability is your key to survival. So we have to ensure we adapt on the new norms. So whether it's basically work from hotel, where we've got a few corporates lined up, where we're giving them a few floors, and we're giving them banquet venues too, where they will work from here, or you've got your food catering services, or laundry services, or pay now, stay later. So we worked on that as well. But as a MICE hotel, our business will only happen once large groups, weddings, events, and all come back. So we hope for the best that the governments, that the pharma companies who are working on the vaccine, we have that in due course of time, because with all what we are basically all trying, they all stopgap measures. Money will not come back with that. We all have our bank EMIs to pay. We all have our loans to pay. We all have our management fees to pay, contracts to pay. So unless and until we have the big business back on the books, it looks difficult. So and I hope and pray that the next 6 months or 8 months, we are back in business, because in case we are not, I can foresee a lot of big boys and the small boys locking doors and shutting down, which I hope doesn't happen. So let's hope for the best, that the vaccine comes out soon for all of us.
Thank you, Manish. While you did give some caution, saying let's hope for the best and businesses don't shut down, I must actually appreciate the bold calls that you've taken. First, to actually shut down the property, and second is, despite that, to not lay off anybody and retain your payroll. That's been very bold, and I wish you the very best for your October opening. Now, shifting gears, I wanted to also ask the leaders that besides carrying a day-to-day microscope, all of you, given the unique positions and perspectives you have, you also have a telescope into how the industry is going to get shaped and what are you seeing emerge. So my question to Parveen is that how do you see this pandemic altering consumer habits for good?
So, Rahul, couple of things that I see happening with consumer habits. Some are actually, I would say, scary because they directly impact our business. And one of them is we are seeing that more and more people are getting used to doing business on audiovisual, right? So they're all happy with the Zooms and Microsoft Teams. And what that is going to happen is that as we move ahead in the future, I see that you would see a certain sector of business which was purely corporate would disappear, because meetings would be, people would be okay to meet as the softwares are also getting much and much better over time. So that's one trend which kind of worries us. Second thing I'm seeing is that I also see that the consumer has spent about 6 months sitting at home, where they have been, working from home at the same time, interacting with their families, and doing a lot of gourmet stuff, right? So people have been cooking, people have been trying to learn new cuisine and so on. So I see that out of the lockdown, the consumer is going to come out being a lot more educated, which means we have to get ready to have a consumer who understand wines as well as our restaurant managers, and who understands food from different parts of the world as well, because he's been cooking that food, right? So that's very interesting and a great analogy, because there is always an opportunity in an adversity. Third thing that I see is that consumer is getting used to doing it yourself. And that's in a way good for us, because that's again an opportunity, which means that in the future, consumer doesn't want, even in a luxury product, he doesn't want a butler standing outside his room. He doesn't want to kind of have people drooling over him when he's in a restaurant. So they are kind of getting this minimalistic style of service, which is great. And the fourth thing I would say is technology, which I said earlier also, that consumer is embracing technology very quickly. So again, we need to figure out how can we use this technology to reach to them faster, to be able to go back and remodel our processes, because on one side we have a challenge that we need to bring down our cost, and we need to bring down, how can we kind of reach people faster. So technology will be helpful in both those forms. And I do see social distancing continuing for another 6 months, or physical distancing, as I should call it, for 6 to 8 months, till the time we see that either the cases go down or herd immunity sets in. After that, we do see that the demand is going to be back. In fact, we are seeing a lot of younger consumer are the first ones to step out, and they are not afraid because of partially because of the reason that the virus doesn't cause us so much of damage when you're young. So as I said, over the weekends we've been seeing a lot of young consumers coming out, using facilities and so on. And the last thing that I would say is there are a lot of innovative business models which are emerging, Rahul. For example, we just this morning I was with a client who wanted to do a virtual wedding, where the request was that the wedding would be done at home on Zoom, and the meal will be sent up to 400 people to their houses. And we were doing food trials, and that's kind of quite unique. So we've never done something like that in the past. We've done virtual functions and virtual business meetings with dinner, but a virtual wedding would be quite interesting. So we see that for the short term. And in the long term, I think technology, leaner business models, consumer being very educated but not really getting fussy. So I think we will get specifically for Indian industry, we would have a little bit more like, I would say, Western consumers, a little bit like the American market, where you will have different models. And if you are in a high-end luxury, then people will understand that they have to pay more for it.
Fantastic. You really have a high-powered telescope into the consumer. And I like the way that you're describing that with the consumer becoming minimalistic, it is actually an opportunity for hotels to reorient the business model using technology to serve consumer needs like that. Now, moving on to Chris, I wanted to ask you, lots of youngsters are planning to enter the industry now, and some are already in the midst of studying. So with this pandemic, there are lots of concerns with this demographic. So what is your advice to youngsters who are planning on joining the industry today? Chris, unmute yourself, please.
There you go. Can you hear me now, Rahul? Sorry.
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
Great question, Rahul. Thank you very much. I actually did receive quite a few emails and messages from students in India and from overseas, because I'm lucky to be part of an alumni, and I'm board member of an alumni of hotel schools outside India, and engage very frequently with students who either just joined the trades as in hotel schools, or who are about to graduate. Now, a lot of them are extremely worried. A lot of them question themselves if they joined the right industry. They are not sure where is the future. Now, each and every one of them, I said very clearly that this is also an opportunity. Now, we also have to differentiate. There are colleagues who join the ranks of the hospitality workforce who have to work. They cannot afford not to work. But the others who can afford and sit back and wait for a job, I would use this time very clearly for either do voluntary work. When I say voluntary work, this could be an NGO, this could be in a hotel to expand your skills, or in a completely different field that you may take interest in, but didn't have time to explore or to study during the last few years while you were studying hospitality industry. I think if we as leaders who look at CVs in the future see colleagues who maybe have a gap or spend some time doing something else, this should be appreciated and looked at as an experience they gained to gain insight to work, especially if you work with NGOs, to understand the mindset of the consumer and people then. I always tell them, listen, if you can, do voluntary work either outside the industry, work for an NGO, study something else completely different where you have an interest in, or educate yourself further in the hospitality field. Maybe you have the chance to go towards an MBA now instead of doing it in 2 or 3 years. Or see if you can do some work in a hotel that would be happy to have you maybe for a month or two doing something completely different. Expand your culinary skills. I mean, Parveen just said our waiters and sommeliers need to be very well educated in what they're doing or communicating with the guests in things like wines. Maybe this is a great opportunity to deepen your knowledge of spirits, wines, and so on, right? And you become the leader in the hotel that you will join in the future in that field. And obviously, this is all a bit different for colleagues who can't afford not to work, who need to look for a job. In that case, I had two cases where I said, listen, we really need a job. I actually helped them to find a job in another field for the time being, because there are industries out there who are not as much affected by this COVID crisis, and some industries are actually thriving. So for both of them, I was able to find jobs doing something different for the time being, and they may like it, what they're doing now, but hopefully they come back to the hospitality industry. But the worst thing you can do is do nothing, if you ask me. It's a great time to expand your skills. That's what I think. I used to clean tennis courts and mini golf places at the time, long time ago.
Brilliant, Chris. So good advice to youngsters to say upskill yourself and also get into adjacent skill sets. And very interesting advice to say, can they pick up volunteering or also work, support NGOs? And then the industry leaders should give them relevant credit when they come back to join a job stream. Related to this, Chris, I also wanted to ask you, you've seen impact of regional pandemics and such situations in different geographies. But this pandemic is global in nature.
Yeah.
So what impact do you foresee on the industry's business fundamentals as a result of this ongoing pandemic?
So, like my colleague said before, look, people always feel the need to travel. It's just a question of airlift being available, a question of visas being issued, a question of confidence coming back once the vaccine is widely available and inoculation happens. So, as I mentioned previously, I don't foresee this as a long-term issue for our industry. I think this will all come back. Look, if I look back, I mean, I went through Arab Springs, I went through typhoon, cyclones. I had an embargo where the tanks were standing not too far away from the hotel. We've seen terrorist attacks in Egypt a few years ago. People tend to forget. People have a very short-term memory if they like something, and travel is something people like. Believe me when I tell you, as soon as a vaccine is released, the guards will fall, people will change perception, people will travel again. It's not something that will have a long-lasting effect. Maybe how they travel, how they look at hotels will maybe change. They probably will look not just at a star ranking or a TripAdvisor ranking, they probably spend a bit more time researching on hygiene and other points that are important to them, right? We all remember the last decade, everyone talked about going green, sustainability. But sustainability was the last few years. Health and hygiene and sanitation will be probably for the next few years. That's what I foresee.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So what you are saying is that the natural tendency of humans to explore, our natural wanderlust, will make the industry come back.
Oh,
and what we have to be very careful is how do we also project and maintain our hygiene, our cleanliness, and our safety standards.
Yeah, a lot of the colleagues have to understand this is not just a new initiative we're doing right now. This is here to stay. We have to understand this as a business, and I think we as leaders do understand it. But it is of great importance that our associates and colleagues understand it. Look, I mean, we had stories where we gave our guests QR codes. Unfortunately, even some guests don't understand. They say, "No, I want the real menu." We talked about technology just before, right? Another colleague talked about it. I think technology is here to stay. I think technology will the deployment and development of technology will accelerate and will be more important in the whole guest experience. That's what I think. I always tried to push technology in my environment, and I was always held back. People always told me, it's maybe not the guest experience we want, but what I tried to achieve over the last 5 years is now suddenly achieved in 5 months. Be it online newspapers, be it online service delivery, whatever you mentioned, it's all coming. It's all there, right? Everyone is rolling it out.
So great point that this crisis is actually accelerating the adoption of technology, at least at 10x. So what you thought would take 5 years, you are seeing it happen in front of you in 5 months.
Well, the deployment, put it this way, I was always pushing for it, right? And there was always a certain hesitation. No, the guest wants a proper newspaper. The guest wants a proper menu. People always use, 5-star traditional hotel hospitality companies. We shouldn't do that. I disagree. I completely disagree. I think listen, why would I not download an app and read my newspaper on a tablet if I can choose from 2,000 newspapers? I may be in Mumbai, but I'm not interested in the Mumbai Mirror because I'm only here for 2 days. I want to read some other newspaper. I can give it to you now because of technology, right? Just to use an example.
Great point on consumers adopting technology for convenience greater, and linking to what actually Parveen was saying earlier. This is also an opportunity for us to rationalize our expense on multiple touch points that we have traditionally created for the business. Now, Sharad, I wanted to ask you, you've seen this pandemic and you've seen other different situations in the past. So what are your learnings from this pandemic that you think general managers should focus on for the future?
So I think the biggest thing that this pandemic has taught a lot of us is, I think we need to look at skills in a slightly different way. Skills are not just about hotels or it's about food and wine. I think skills are more larger skills we look at and I think the most important skill is adaptability, which I would call a skill now. And I think this is what and this was one incident that happened. There will be other smaller ones that will continue to happen. I mean, we've all seen through our careers ups and downs in business and different business cycles for different industries. So I think just to increase our own skill sets is extremely important. And I think from a organizational point, I think coming back to the most important value that we have, or the strength that Marriott has is the culture. And I think culture has to be a top priority always. Good times, bad times, ugly times, wherever we are. And clearly the organizations which were strong on culture will come out a lot stronger after this. And let's keep in mind also that culture cannot be copied. So we're all trying to compete with each other on Marriott on Wheels and all of those. But yeah, we pick up good practices from there. But culture is something that I think we cannot be copied, and everything that we speak of. I mean, technology is also a part of culture. That how open we are to accept technology, how open we are to for the change. We spoke of, I think the previous session spoke a lot about multi-skilling, and I would look at multi-skilling in just two very different ways. Number one is, I think for multi-skilling, and also a part of culture, I need to start from myself. Why do I need a housekeeping associate cleaning my office? Why can't I do it up myself? If I have a little plant in my office, why can't I look after that plant myself? And that's where multi-skilling should start. And the second is, I think we've all grown up with in hotels of, this is this department, this is this department. We get, and because of that we get very, very departmental. I think we start thinking beyond departments. We look at, of course, there is expertise that an engineer has, and a finance associate has expertise in something, and a kitchen associate has expertise in something. But I think for a lot of things, there are a lot of things in a hotel which are very, very. It just needs common sense. It doesn't need a high skill level. And look at multi-skilling. And as I said, I think whatever we can do to help our associates, because we're looking at this pandemic, then it'll be technology, then it'll be something else, and we don't know what 5 years down the line is going to be. One can't really see what 5 years down the line what hotels are going to be. Yeah, some things will stay common. Luxury will continue to be there. Personalization will continue to be there, but it'll be in a very, very different way. I mean, Google thinks of personalization in a very, very different way. We think of personalization in a very different way. So I think just do what it takes to increase the adaptability quotient of our associates. And for the future, I think the one lesson I would myself keep in mind is keep fixed costs controlled as much as possible. Keep all costs variable, and don't underestimate any business opportunity. But 1 year down the line, who would have thought that we would put so much of our energies on minutely looking at the sales summary of our takeaway menu of Marriott on Wheels. We study it with a lot of care now. So let's not underestimate any business opportunity. The next few business opportunities could be about co-working spaces, could be about consulting, could be about training. Training a lot of. We spoke of going to people's homes, and there are a lot of things that we can do around there as well. And I think let's all be prepared for the worst. What we all learned many years back of hope for the best and be prepared for the worst. And one can't say the worst is behind us. We really don't know. So be an optimist. We've got this little initiative that Marriott has started. It's an app which is called Equilibrium, which kind of helps people in their balancing their thoughts and keeping everybody up in their spirits. And Mr. Menon shared a note a couple of days back, and everybody does a self-assessment in that, and the best thing is, he said, Mr. Menon said, my statement there is that I'm an optimist. Be an optimist. I think we look for the positive things, see what we can do more, but let's be prepared for the worst. Let's be prepared for the worst, because what will also happen in the next couple of months, I think, even if there is a vaccine, the vaccine will take time. What will also happen as a result is, I mean, a consequence of what we lose in this 1 year, disposable incomes are going to go low. And with disposable incomes going to going low, people's thinking is going to change. The credit card mentality probably will change. People earlier were a lot more easy in taking credit. Now I think that mentality will probably change. And that was the difference in people who were born in 40s and 50s and 60s versus the people who were born 70s and 80s. I mean, we thought very differently than the previous generation. So I think the overall thinking of every person will have some bit of change. These 2 years will have a huge impact on consumer behavior, on our thinking, on the society. So let's be prepared that business may not come back to the 2019 levels very soon.
So while I heard you speak about common sense, which you said is not so common these days, and the focus on adaptability, and everybody seems to be reiterating that our workforce has to become multi-talented and multitasking. Let me quickly ask you, Sharad, when do you see that the industry is going to come back to the 2019 level?
Will take a while. I think will take a while. Will take quite some time. And I would only talk in RevPAR. I think the first thing that will happen is occupancies will go up next couple of months. First, the occupancies will rise, and then the rates will rise. The good thing, and if one was to just look at in comparison to 2008-9, the financial meltdown, one was India wasn't as badly impacted as the rest of the world then. I think at this stage, India is a little more impacted. The good thing is, though, that I don't think there will be as much new inventory coming in the next 4 or 5 years as it did in after 2009-10. I think between 2009 and 14, there was a lot new inventory came in. So that's going to be a bit of a help that for us to get back to 2019 RevPAR levels. And until then, I think great opportunity in food and beverage. I feel food and beverage will come out a lot stronger than, and it has a lot more of our energies and focus now.
Great, thank you. Quickly to move on to Kunal, two things. One is, when do you see 2019 levels being achieved again? And secondly, I was hearing you earlier when you said 55% of your business was GDS. So with this pandemic, how do you also see the total hotel distribution landscape change?
I think so. I see that by 2022, somewhere mid, is when some of the companies' production should start coming up to the levels that it was for me in Bangalore. I think we will see, we might not be doing the same revenue, but occupancy will definitely be in. I think the ADRs will be slightly depressed still. As far as the question on distribution goes, I think what will happen right now is, with your traditional GDS and big accounts, contracted accounts reducing and almost diminishing, OTAs will gain tremendous amount of ground. I think there'll be lot of competition online. I think companies are going to spend a lot more money on search engine optimization just to be able to make sure that they're able to retain their direct booking sources. And see, by the end of it, post-COVID era, anybody who's managed to survive and has managed to stand up on their 2 feet, any hotel will have some ground to negotiate with these OTAs to be able to get decent rates and continue to work. I think what should be done right now is, we shouldn't give up on pre-COVID distribution strategy of ours to trying to convert more direct. We should keep our focus on it, though today these OTAs will be a lot more meaningful to us momentarily. But in the long run, I don't think we should abdicate our previous strategy of how we were managing our distribution. So that's what I see happening on the distribution front right now.
Thank you. So you are saying keep focus on driving business direct to the brand. That should get your investment and your energies even today.
And one more on this. Yesterday, our business model was very simple because we could deal with 125 companies and still get our 200 room nights. What will happen now is, we'll actually be dealing with 500 companies to get our 200 room nights. So our sales force and a lot more ground sales activity will happen in not only our feeder market, but local market. Relationships is going to be
Thank
the
you.
key
Thank you,
differentiator
Kunal.
here.
Atul, I was hearing you earlier when you said that, look, F&B used to be key to our business, but it is suffering. Yet at the same time, when you spoke of Delhi, you saw green shoots of demand come up very fast. There was lots of pent up F&B demand coming back to the market. So, how do you see this pandemic impacting the industry's F&B landscape?
I'm audible?
Yes, you are. Thank you.
Thank you. So, with regards to F&B, I'll divide this into basically three categories. One is outlet restaurants, second is banquets, and third is which everybody has created, this food delivery vertical. So in terms of banquets, obviously that I don't see that kind of demand coming back, where we were used to larger hotels, we were used to doing 1,000 people, 1,500 people, and a large number of weddings and corporate MICE events, exhibitions, and all that. So that's not going to come back very, very soon. So that we'll have to keep it aside. Like one of my co-panelists said that like in Europe, there are smaller weddings, but much more lavish weddings and all that. So that is emerging out in terms of that, and also the virtual events which are happening. And like Parveen mentioned, with regards to virtual weddings and virtual events, and I'm glad that we've already been able to do that at hotels. I have done around 3 or 4 events of 400 people conference lunch. So getting lunch delivered at the same time at all over India location, and people are meeting virtually. So that's happened. Virtual weddings have happened. So it's already happened, and that's what even the event industry has to survive. So obviously they are also partnering with hotels and selling these events, so that one is that you can celebrate your wedding, at the same time you can share the food as well. And you can curate the menu, and it can be delivered at all locations in India. And that's the strength all of us have as large chains. So this is with regards to banquets. And then secondly, outlets. We have opened our restaurants at Calcutta, at Delhi, at Bangalore, and results have been, there is a lot of pent up demand. The number of covers, though we have to keep our physical distancing, and in terms of keeping the norms prescribed by Ministry of Home, apart even then, the kind of demand which is coming in, like the green shoots, yes, this is very encouraging that people are willing to come in. And obviously, as an industry, we need to really assure our clients that the hotels are absolutely safe places to go, and we take care of that. So there are some comments, even if you go on to TripAdvisor and see, so people have written that this is a hospital-like care. We feel so safe here in these hotels, but at the same time, warmth has not gone. So that's a very, very important aspect of the restaurants. Though people are not, that's very sad part that 30% of the restaurant, as we read some reports which are going to contract, they may not dine out, restaurant may not open. So because of high costs, and they're not been able to sustain. So but for hotels have the opportunity to take care of that part of it, to serve to that demand. Now the third part, which is a food delivery vertical. This is absolutely, like Sharad said, Marriott on wheels, and some other. Most of us have done something on that. Again, the packaging, like somebody said, creating the demand. The customer is going to be more aware. So we are actually taking part in that. What are we doing? We're sending them do your own kits. So we're sending the ingredients, and the customer is combining it all together. So they're really enjoying it today. We even give them the videos of how the chef is making the dish, or you even have an opportunity to talk to a chef and create that dish. That's happening. Our
Fantastic.
sommeliers have conducted classes. That's, you pay a fees of maybe 1,000 rupees, and then you do a 2 hours sommelier class or a mixologist class. So all these ideas are coming from a young talent which is there in the hotels, and actually creating revenues out of that. So all these things are possible, and people are willing to do these sales now because there is so much time available. So there is a lot of pent-up demand in food and beverage, and I don't see food and beverage. I see food and beverage is going to play a very, very large role in recovering whatever the number of covers we're going to lose in restaurants. But because of the restrictions, we should be able to make up that from food delivery working. So F&B is the way to go at this point of time.
Brilliant, Atul. And listening to you, I also remember what Parveen was saying, that our consumers are becoming smarter. They are becoming gourmets. So there is an opportunity to satisfy the gourmet in the consumers, and at the same time, with delivery, food and beverage is a new opportunity for all our businesses. And I think with that, we are almost on time for the deadline of a session. And I've enjoyed this dialogue and hearing everybody across at this platform. So 2 or 3 key things that stick to me. While I've listened to Chris speak of his experience in different places, what Parveen is seeing with younger consumers coming into the fold, Atul, you spoke of ITC's focus in still continuing your growth and saying, how do we take care of our employees there? Sharad speaking of adaptability. So there is overall sense of rebound that is going to come back into the industry. But with it, we have to be very careful that we are still in survival, though we are seeing revival in front of us. And we have to also maintain our focus on variabilizing our fixed costs. And if we do that, there is a great opportunity with technology, change in consumer behavior, and new market segments that are opening up for the industry to remodel itself for profitability. So I want to thank you, Chris, Atul, Kunal, Sharad, Parveen, and Manish for being great panelists. I have had a great time listening to you. And also Bhuvnesh, your team, Bhavna, and everybody at BW for creating this platform, A, for friends to meet, and B, for all of us to share our thoughts. Much appreciate. Thank you very much, Bhuvnesh. Thank you.
Thank you.
You are mute, Bhuvnesh. Unmute.
Bhuvnesh, requesting you to unmute yourself.
So before the show goes out, I have a few words, right? This is my second show today with Rahul Pandit, and my third or fourth with him overall. But let me tell you, this show has been on my mind, and I've been planning this for the last 3 months, right? Each one on this panel who sits is a king in his own right, right? Now, let me tell you, the only similarity that I can find, or semblance of similarity that I can find, is with those gentlemen who run those large Queen Elizabeth II kind of ships, right? They're colossus giants. They're brilliant skippers. They run giants. For those ones who are trying to get into the hospitality industry, or the ones who have not even made their mind up as yet, look at these skippers. Look at these captains. They are geniuses. I mean, they run businesses which are umpires. I mean, some of them run multi-properties, right? Some of you run multi-properties. I mean, Chris and Manish are pretty much neighbors, though Parveen is not too far. I mean, each one of you run giants. And by the way, Atul, when your Parel property was being made, I used to spend time over there with the architect, Hafiz contractor, because I was setting up the Hindustan Times plant over there. So that was our meeting point, and the hotel was still under construction. Right? Having said that, this was a great show. I wish we could take this longer and spend far more time. Having said that, please remember, the BW Hotelier has just about started with its shows. I'm coming with a lot more series, and you'll hear a lot more. And I shall keep coming back to you and request you for your screen time. Thank you, Chris, for your time. I know you were in a board meeting. You still pulled out. By the way, there was a city in which I've lived and worked for for 2 postings where Chris' children were born, Doha and Qatar. Right? I speak Arabic, so I kept getting posted over there. Manish, I've enjoyed staying in your hotel. Atul, I'm looking forward to going back to the Royal Bengal and soon maybe here. And of course, the Taj Lands End has been my home for almost 10 months. When I was launching Hindustan Times in Mumbai, I've stayed at the JW with Sharad, but I look forward to seeing you all and soon maybe someday in Bangalore. Thank you for your time, Kunal, Parveen, Sharad,
Thank you so much.
Manish, Atul, Chris, and Rahul. You're a brilliant host and amazing anchor.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you
making
again.
the show wonderful.